Good evening, everyone. My name is Dr. Ala Adams. I serve as an associate professor of healthcare administration and MHA program director at Park University. I also serve on the student membership and enrollment committee of the ACHE Southeast Texas chapter. And this committee organized this wonderful event this evening, which is a healthcare administration internship panel webinar. We will explore the intern's experience, the benefits of internships, and the ways healthcare administration internships help to prepare for future leadership roles. We would like first to thank our chapter strategic partners for their support for this program and our other educational events. Our chapter member sponsors, Texas Children's Hospital, Houston Methodist, St. Luke's Health, Memorial Hermann Health Systems, MD Anderson Cancer Center, and HCA Houston Healthcare. Also, our platinum sponsors, Lintas, gold sponsors, UTMB Health and the Intercontinental Houston Medical Center. Our silver sponsors, Harris Health, Page, Realty Trust Group, Texas A&M University, Texas Women's University, University of Houston Clear Lake, Village MD, and EEPB, as well as our bronze sponsors, Brazos Sport College, Candio Partners, Create Amor, Kindred Healthcare, Hunton Group, and the UT School of Public Health. Please note that we also have many exciting events shortly coming during this month, and for which you can register at ACHE Southeast Texas chapter website. Our next in the monthly Coffee and Cocktails with the Chief series will be Cocktails with the Chief on next Thursday, February 27th, featuring Mario Garner, CEO of St. Luke's Health and Vintage Hospital. Also, registration is already open for two big networking events on Sunday, March 23rd, and Tuesday, March 25th, at the 2025 ACHE Congress. As you know, that will be held in Houston this year. Please note that for this event and for the next event, you do not need to be registered for the Congress. You can just attend these events. Also, we are having our first ACHE virtually interactive credit opportunity for 2025, harnessing the power and avoiding the pitfalls of 4 generations of the workforce. And that will be held on Wednesday, March 5th, 2025. Our 4th annual Sporting Clay Tournament and Scholarship Fundraising will be on Friday, April the 18th. And our second quarter breakfast meeting will be on Thursday, May 15th. So save these dates. And stay tuned for additional event announcements. There's lots more to come in 2025. And now I would like to introduce our presenters. We have two presenters with us, William Johnson. William is currently pursuing his Master of Healthcare Administration online at Louisiana State University. He is based in Houston. He's recently completed a hospital operations internship with Memorial Hermann Health System. He's passionate, dedicated professional, pursuing career in healthcare administration. And we also have with us Sarah Lubani. Sarah is a Master of Healthcare Management student at UT Health School of Public Health, where she's also pursuing a Leadership and Healthcare Administration certificate. She graduated from the University of Houston in 2023 with a Bachelor of Science in Biology and minor in Medicine and Society. And she is currently an intern with the American College of Healthcare Executives Southeast Texas chapter, where she became involved since 2024 and will continue through the spring 2025. In this role, she supports leadership initiatives, event coordination, and strategic projects to enhance professional development and networking opportunities for healthcare leaders. Okay, well, Sarah, we will begin with you. From a high level, can you share about your internship experience?
Okay. First, hello everyone. Thanks for joining us today. To answer your question, so when I first joined American College of Healthcare Executives, the Southeast Texas chapter as an intern, I wasn't entirely sure what to expect going in. I mean, I knew I'd be working in healthcare leadership, but didn't realize I'll be involved with like shaping events and initiatives that directly impact healthcare professionals. From my first day, I was immersed in strategic planning, meetings, targeted marketing, networking with executives, and tackling real world challenges in event coordinations. So each week presented a new learning opportunity, whether it was organizing for the leadership conference or the events that were going on for the organization, working with speakers, and just ensuring a seamless event execution. So it was like a very fast and dynamic work environment, but I found myself constantly learning and adapting, and it was like a great experience so far.
Thank you, Sarah, for getting us started. William, would you please also share just kind of give an overview of your internship experience?
Absolutely. As Sarah stated, first and foremost, thank you for having me and having her as well. So for me, I actually did my internship during undergrad, so I really didn't know what to expect. What I really wanted to get out of it was closure, that I could take my passion in healthcare, as well as the skill set that I believed I have in a business setting and create a career out of it. So walking in completely blind, I am truly grateful for the experience I had, being able to network with the system level executives as well as the staff at my hospital to be able to tackle some small projects as well as a major one that really shaped my summer was honestly truly a breathtaking experience that shaped the way that my career is now as I currently still am employed by Memorial Hermann. So that speaks volumes to the culture as well as just the overall experience I had as an intern.
Interesting, William. So when you were intern, how was your typical day look like?
So for me, that changed about halfway through the internship. So the first half of my internship, my direct report was the COO of the hospital in which I actually interned, which was Memorial Hermann Northeast up in Humble, Texas. And during the time, Memorial Hermann was switching over their software platform from HealthQuest and Cerner to Epic. So majority of my day was sitting in transitional meetings to see what Epic would look like in Memorial Hermann, whether it was from an operational standpoint to finances to pharmacy, whatever it looked like, what would Epic be, how would Epic seamlessly transfer within the organization. Halfway through my internship, I found a project that called to me and it actually shifted my direct report to then the CNO of the hospital at the time. And I honestly felt like her sidekick, and we attacked that together. So it wasn't necessarily planned, as I was only the second intern to go through the program. So there was no set program in place. It was more so put in a way where I could find and explore to really see what exactly my passion was. So every day kind of felt different.
Thank you, William. You mentioned a project. Um, if I would ask you, if you could share some specific kind of key project that you think that you have done that really significantly contributed to your organization?
Absolutely. So I had the pleasure of being on the team where last year Memorial Hermann partnered with Aldine ISD to create Heal High School, which is a healthcare-based high school initiative for a low-income area here in Houston. We were approached by Bloomberg Philanthropies and were offered $250 million to create this. So being on the team that not only helped write the grant proposal, but actually the layout over a 10-year period to what this program would look like was honestly breathtaking, to be honest with you. I didn't know that I would be able to do it. I honestly didn't think that I would be able to do it. A little bit of imposter syndrome was definitely there. But with the guidance of the system level executives, as well as just other entities that were a part of that program and that initiative, it was definitely the highlight of my summer.
Thank you, William. Sarah, may I ask you the same question? So, could you share some key project that you feel that you worked on that really contributed to your organization?
Yeah, so most of my internships, I joined last summer with ACHE for this chapter, and my main task was helping in the execution of their healthcare leadership conference that's held in November. So throughout my internship was basically helping with the logistics and gathering all the inform data for the speakers and making our members aware of this event happening in November. So it was a big event, a 2-day event held in November, and it was like a place where all the healthcare executives, student members, normal participants, or just anyone interested in healthcare can come and network, have also educational sessions. So it was a very big event that I feel like made a big impact and great success, thankfully, last semester. And so this year I'm also helping in this conference preparation.
Awesome, thank you. Sarah, as you see it, what is the most rewarding aspect of your internship that you believe really align with your personal and professional goals?
So the most rewarding part, so most of my work was done online, so through emails and communications just virtually. So we making like the puzzle pieces put together, but then seeing all that work come together and like I remember walking in the first day of conference, seeing everything laid out from the sponsor tables to the name tags to everything set up and laid out for everyone coming in. It was just like surreal. Like I had to pause and take it in and it was like I helped make this happen. You know, it took a lot of planning. It was years worth for the committee for the organization, but I helped like halfway through and it really made me see like how behind the scenes work really contributes to make something big for everyone that can enjoy and it makes a difference.
Thank you. It was probably not always easy. If I may ask you, did you encounter any challenges during the internship and how did you overcome them?
Yeah, so obviously it's a big event and it was a lot of people involved. I would say one of the biggest challenges was we had last minute changes to the panel speakers. And so we had to get new names, get all their contacts and logistics so that we can inform both like the national chapter along with the other committee members that are in charge of marketing and the app and making sure that's translated. And then we even had like a change during the day of the event where we had a speaker change. And I remember going up to Mark and I'm like, he was like, no problems, such just solutions. And I was like, okay, so we had to like work our way, put her name in and put it. So it made me really think of like anticipate salute like problems and it can happen suddenly and just work on your feet and like just get it done. And it's like everyone's working together makes it really like accomplishment at the end. Yeah.
A fascinating perspective. Thank you for sharing that. Let's hear from William. William, if I ask you, did you encounter any challenges that you remember, and how did you overcome them?
Yes, there were two specifically that come to mind. One regarding that project with Hill High School. The biggest challenge was getting all the key stakeholders in meetings necessary to make the plans move forward because we were on a very strict timeline. And since this was a proposal for the project, there weren't any allocated people who were specifically assigned to take care of this. So just trying to navigate between the system level executives, trying to get everyone in the same room or in the same meetings was definitely the hardest part of that part as well, for sure. As well as in general, I believe the biggest challenge over the summer for me was because there was no path laid out before me, finding what I was personally interested in and how I wanted to navigate the summer was definitely something that I didn't know how I would approach. But then I kind of found myself just engulfed in a multiple different things that happen. Since it's a hospital, of course, there's always something that's happening. There's always a way for you to be able to help and assist. And one thing leads to another, and there's a multitude of projects for you to do. So that problem got solved very quickly.
It is interesting that you mentioned, it was sometimes difficult to get, all of the people, at the right time, at the right place. Obviously, it sounds like you had a chance to practice those soft management skills, really teamwork. And that leads us to the next question. Um, Obviously, it's not easy to be intern and a graduate student taking classes and homework and everything. So could you share some time management um, tips or skills that really help you, that you identify that is helpful when you are studying and also being in a stressful kind of environment working?
Absolutely. And for me, self-care is key. If I'm not at my 100%, I can't give school its deserved 100% or work its deserved 100%. So at least for me, I learned in undergrad that either I'm going to have to get some time management skills or it's going to be forced upon me. So for my internship, I know that the courses that I was taking required a lot of reading. So for me, I had about an hour and a half commute to Humble from Katy, Texas, one way, and about 2 hours back in rush hour traffic to get home. So what I would do is I would listen to the audiobook of whatever it is I had to read on the way in as kind of just a decompressor from work. I tried staying after to let the traffic die down, as anyone who's from Houston knows that it's not a really good idea. Traffic's going to be here for quite some time. So being able to work around that, whether it's coming into work a little bit earlier to knock out some homework before my meetings, or that listening to that audiobook on the way home so I don't have to be up until 1, 2 a.m. trying to cram homework down in order to be at work the next day. So finding those different avenues where you can take care of the different things you have to do while ultimately still making sure that self-care is at the center of what you need to do.
Very good. Thank you so much for sharing that. Sarah, would you like to add to that? Do you have some time management tips?
I do. Just like William, I commuted to school and back. So I know how it is getting stuck in Houston traffic. And so I made it a priority for me in undergrad to get what needs to be done within the weeks. I have the weekend off for myself and for family. And that kind of translated into what I'm doing now, where I plan ahead and prioritize wisely. So at the start of each week, I kind of like list out the key tasks and deadlines just to know what's coming up ahead and then just kind of like split it into daily tasks and like make sure that everything's fit wisely, but I'm also like not straining myself. So by the end of the week, I finish what I need to get done and just have that weekend for me to de-stress, decompress, be with family, and then get back to it the start of the next week. So I think it's very important, like I said, take time for yourself. Yes, work is important, school is important, but you also need time to just detach from all of it and just give yourself, regroup.
So true. Thank you. Thank you, Sarah. Okay, back to William. William, so you had this fantastic opportunity to have a hospital operations internship in a hospital setting. Um, how did your internship help you develop some critical skills that you feel that are really needed in the field of healthcare administration? And which of those skills do you feel that are the most valuable?
Definitely. So the internship itself taught me a lot of different skills, but the most important one by far is being able to prioritize what needs an A plus effort out of me compared to something that just needs to get done, if that makes sense. Or for students, something you need to ace and something that's just a completion grade. Like, for example, we the project I had to take care, I was in charge of, I know that needed my top priority. I know I needed to give my best work for that. And I knew that was going to take a long time over the summer. So I needed to prioritize that. However, I did have a bomb threat while I was at the hospital, unfortunately, that required attention. So the measures that went into that needed to be, it just needed to get done. It didn't necessarily need to be my 100% best effort, but the things that needed to get done needed to be done quickly. And the key stakeholders that needed to be notified fast and promptly. So from the internship, even carrying on into my current role, being able to decipher what requires 100% effort and perfection the first time, whereas compared to something that just needs to get done quickly and efficiently, that's something that internship truly taught me, and it's something I believe is going to be with me for the rest of my career.
Awesome. Thank you, William. Well, building on that, um, um, how do you feel about, did your internship help bridge the gap between what you learn in the classroom, in your classes, and then in the real world healthcare administration?
I would like to say yes and no in a way. Yes, because the core concepts are the same. The work itself is translatable into the real world. But where I'd like to say no is that school in general kind of gives you, it kind of holds your hand a little bit, gives you the best case scenario of how things are going to go. Whereas the real world kind of sits you on your butt every day and tells you to get up. Where school isn't going to prepare me for the bomb threat that happened during the summer, or in my current role, even a few weeks ago with the inclement weather, we had a code gray. So I spent 72 hours in my office. School isn't going to prepare me to take care of that. So I would like to say yes and no, where from a macro level, there are definitely concepts and just things that do apply, but at the same time, there's no teacher-like experience.
Interesting. It sounds to me that what you mentioned is that in the real world, there are sometimes high pressure situations. And well, do you think that maybe the students should be put a little bit more under some pressure to kind of learn them, how they function under pressure? Um,
Absolutely.
what are your thoughts
Absolutely.
about it? Because
I
that's
am a
considered
firm
of soft
believer.
skills, right?
Oh, yes, absolutely. I'm a firm believer of pressure makes diamonds. I believe that it's very easy for us to just assume when writing a test what we would do in a scenario. But when actually put in place with that scenario, how are you going to react? And
Mhm.
working in ER currently, I deal with that every day. For example, our visitation policy. We stop visitation for the main hospital about 9 o'clock every single day. But what am I going to do when a wife comes in at 11 p.m. whose husband's been in the ICU for 13 days, who she couldn't get to see her husband because she was at work? Am I going to follow that policy of strictly 9 p.m. or am I going to try to have some empathy for that woman? So it's a fine balance. So I definitely believe getting that experience and that pressure early on will definitely help when it comes to building that foundation for the rest of our careers.
Thank you, William. Yes, that's very important point. I would like to ask Sarah the same question. Sarah, do you feel that internship helps you kind of to bridge what you learn in the classroom to the real world experience?
So, in a classroom, like for my healthcare management, they give us theories, frameworks, case studies, hypotheticals that we need to like work through. But the internship gave me the real world application where the real learning happens, I say, like the more hands-on experience. For instance, in class, we're always talking about the importance of stakeholder engagement and making sure they're involved in whatever project we're doing. In my case, I had to talk to a lot of stakeholders and like committee members along with like the speakers coming to the event. So I needed to be very careful with how I'm communicating to them. Like so how like to translate what I need from them without coming off as unprofessional. Also learning to be patient, sending emails in a timely manner. So it's like definitely I had to build that kind of understanding that, okay, it's important, but it's also how you approach them is something that you're only going to learn with practice. And so I remember when I first started, I drafted a lot of emails, got them approved, and then I emailed them out. So now I got to the habit, okay, I kind of got the tone, I know what needs to be sent and how it should be done, and now I'm able to do it myself. So it's definitely with the internship, I'm getting that more hands-on real world knowledge that you don't always get from a classroom, but it's also I learned a lot of the basics and the importance of what I'm doing from my classes. Yeah.
Very good. So yeah, it sounds like so the what you learn in the classroom like a stepping stone, but then when you get to the real world, let's talk a little bit more about it. So what do you feel in particular um, is really beneficial that you do, or what particularly what you work on in the internship, um, beneficial for your professional and personal development?
So through my internship, I got to learn a lot about strategic planning, communicating with the team to make sure that like each one has a task and that it's getting done at a timely manner. I think also one of the biggest benefits was I was able to sit in executive meetings with the board and see how the decision-making process goes through. And then I also got the chance to network with a lot of industry leaders. So through my internship, it gave me like direct exposure into the inner workings of healthcare leadership and like how decisions are made, strategic priorities are set, and how effective networking plays a role in my growth. So it's like talking to these different individuals, you get a clear mind on the path you want to go. Also, because they went on a similar journey, so it kind of gives you some clarity in that aspect. So I really had the chance to observe these leadership in action during conference planning and learning how to delegate and collaborate and also problem solve were like really important in building the path that I'm heading in into the future.
Thank you, Sarah. This is interesting. I'm curious, William, would you share, have you had the opportunity to observe some important meetings, um, how decisions are made, what was interesting, what was striking, what surprised you?
Yes. That was majority of the summer outside of the tasks that I was completing. And honestly, I learned multiple things from it. The first thing I learned for sure was the importance or how important delegation was, where I would walk in thinking everyone was the expert of whatever it is that they were doing, when it turns out that if, especially as leaders, if you delegate certain work or certain obstacles to people who are experts or who are can take care of it, it truly does alleviate a lot of I guess, the stressors or just the obstacle that could come with the decision making. And another one that I personally learned that piqued my interest was that people tend to listen with the intent to reply rather than to understand. So walking into some meetings and understanding that simply waiting and reading the room before giving out your thoughts or your own presentation. I saw one of our CEOs do that in a board meeting, and it truly changed the way that not only I approach meetings, but just how I approach conversations in general.
Excellent point. You just made an excellent point. We could talk about it, do another webinar just on that. That really listening skills, that is the most important in any conversation. You don't need to really, labor and work hard to have a great conversation. Once you really practice active listening, then anyone will enjoy having conversation with you. Interesting. I'm curious, William, um, how did your internship help you maybe understand different management styles and leadership approaches?
So through my internship, I had the privilege of interacting with now many mentors or people I would consider mentors, and a lot of them have different leadership styles. But one thing they all have in common when interacting with me, because I love to ask questions, is they say that sometimes the cost of leadership is being misunderstood by the people you're trying to help. So it's definitely important for leaders to be able to not only listen, but also understand the people that they're trying to lead. And that can look like many different things, whether it's an open door policy for someone with an office and a staff of people that directly report to them, or whether that's presence. One of the CEOs at Memorial Hermann, who is over two hospitals, he makes sure that he's present at both hospitals every day. Where he starts one day, he ends the next day. So that constant visibility, and also he makes it a habit to go into both hospitals every Christmas. Whether it's he's there for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 5 hours, doesn't necessarily matter. But that presence alone, not only does it rejuvenate the team, but it also lets them know that you're not just here to manage, but also lead, if that makes sense.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you. William, if you think about your internship experience, the way you approached it, how you went about it, if you could go back, is there anything that you would do differently to maximize your internship experience?
That's a really good question. And would I do anything differently? I wouldn't do anything differently, but what I would, I guess, do different. I wouldn't do anything differently within the internship itself, but I would change my expectation of what's to come after the internship, if that makes sense. During the internship, everything is on 10. You're doing multiple different projects. You are, of course, it's an internship. You're expecting to come out of it with maybe a job, connections, something of that nature. My biggest thing was expecting that all of that was going to happen chronologically and seamlessly. And yes, I work for Memorial Hermann now, but there was about a year and a half gap between my internship and my current role. So just going in with an open mind and understanding that Rome wasn't built in a day. And yes, this internship will be very life changing and very important in regards to setting yourself up for your career, but also understand that it is that a stepping stone and it isn't necessarily going to immediately mean that whatever comes next will happen then and there.
Thank you. Yes, thank you for sharing that. Sarah, if I ask you the same question, if you go back, is there something that you would maybe do differently to maximize your internship experience?
Yeah, so this is a tough question. Most of it, looking back, I enjoyed everything because it was all a learning process. Like every day was a learning for me. I think I would, instead of changing, I would take more advantage of what the internship was giving me, which was like the networking aspect. I know the first half of my internship, I didn't really go out and do these networking events as much. And being a virtual intern, I should have done that just so I can meet the team more one-on-one, get to know each other. Just I think that when you get to know your other team members, you get to work better together and you're like, okay, I know them. And now that I am attending more events, I got to know them more on one-on-one and it's like we're building that relationship. And I think that will definitely translate in job perspectives in the future and whatever I go into, just taking that moment to get to know who you're working with. And that really changes a lot. So I would definitely take advantage of that.
Thank you, Sarah. Um, Sarah, so for students who are maybe about to begin their internship, are there any strategies or recommendations? What would you recommend to the students for making the most out of the opportunity?
So, an internship is basically for you to go and learn new things or apply things you have learned. So embrace every feedback you get. It's all just to improve and help you grow. It's not to hold you back or to criticize you. So just being open to feedback and embracing it instead of taking it into a negative. And also be proactive, ask for tasks. If you have questions, ask. Always be open to become involved and not just finish your thing and sit down in the corner because that's just kind of a waste. You got in there, take advantage of what you have, reflect on what you're learning, network, and embrace everything a part of that internship. That's what I definitely recommend for everyone going in it.
Thank you for that. Um, what would you say would be your biggest takeaways from this internship?
Yeah, so one thing would be, we always, when we hear leadership, it's like oh, they have the authority there leading the group, we follow what they say. But I got to learn, from my supervisor and like the education panels we went to, it's about strategy, communication, and adaptability. Nothing always works the way we want. So being adaptable, communicating with your team so that everyone's on the right track, will prevent like hurdles that could be easily, avoided. And then, every challenge is a new opportunity. So I grow like, even if I'm something new to me, it's like getting to take it in and asking questions and kind of growing from that. It really helps how you approach things later on in your professional career and even your personal. So yeah, definitely big takeaways, networking, relationship, how to be a better leader, and embracing every challenge and everything that comes your way.
Thank you, Sarah. William, and the same question for you. What would you say are the biggest takeaways um, from the internship, the way you see it?
Well, first and foremost, everything Sarah said for sure. And piggybacking off of what she said about networking, people believe there's no shortcuts when it comes to careers, and I believe there definitely is one, and it's mentorship. So I believe that, well, at least the approach that I took was making sure that I got mentors as well as sponsors, people who have a seat at the table where I want to be, who can vouch for my work. So definitely being able to navigate that and figure out who those people are, it will definitely be important. And then another thing that this internship really taught me is you'll only grow as much as, sorry about that. Okay. It really taught me that you will only grow as much as you allow yourself to dream. And I say that because prior to this internship, even during the application process, I won't lie, I didn't necessarily know if it was something I wanted to do or if it was something I could do. So being able to look back at the end of it and get that closure necessary to know that, yes, this is not only attainable, but this is the path that I believe that not only God has put before me, but what I'm actually going to do. So those two are definitely the biggest things for me.
Great. Thank you so much for sharing. Um, all right, I would like to open it for questions to the audience. Anyone, if you have any questions, you can type them into the chat feature or just unmute yourself and just um, ask questions.
Hello, good evening, everyone. William, I had a question for you. Could you repeat what you meant by, and that was a really interesting analogy about when you walk in the room, when you're reading the room, and you're actually prepared for the topic. Can you repeat that? Because I thought that was really interesting.
No, absolutely, absolutely. And what I meant by that is I believe I was talking about how important listening was. Whereas it pertains to most people listen with the intent to reply rather than to understand. So, especially when you're going into a room where decisions are being made, myself as an intern, where I'm definitely not the expert in any given scenario over that summer, being able to not be quick to speak but quick to listen and always be open to criticism as well. Just because it doesn't necessarily have to be a business venture or in which the conversation will happen, but you never know where or what you can learn and what can come from that conversation. So being able to compartmentalize and understand that, yes, you may have some points to come across, but it'd be better to have all the information from whoever the stakeholders are before presenting yours because lo and behold, you might have a change of opinion before you even give yours out. So it's always really important to, again, read the room and being able to understand who it is you're speaking to.
Very good. I would add to that. Um, yes, this is extremely important. As you know, in healthcare, we work with colleagues with different background. We can have on our some project or whatever we are working on. Nurses, physicians, somebody from pharmacy, somebody from medical records, marketing, all kinds of different, and we should be able to, as William said, read the room. But also another suggestion is before you come to any meeting, really think what you would like to have, maybe one or two things when you walk out. Once you have that in your head, sort of, okay, it doesn't matter how the meeting is going to go. What I would like to have is this when I walk out. Then you kind of relax and you really, really give all your undivided attention to whoever you're talking to. And that way you let them to share what's on their mind and what their priorities. Then you think about, well, how you would make sure that their priorities are met and what you have and what you want would kind of collaborate with that. So that is so much easier. But to be able to do that, you have to listen, really listen. So I thought that was excellent point. All right.
I have a question for Sarah. As a
Mario.
virtual, hi, Dr. Adams. As a virtual intern, can you share an example of a meaningful impact in a healthcare operations role?
Meaningful impact in healthcare operations. So for our organization, it's mostly education on networking. So ours is mostly delegating different events and expanding it to all the MPH, some undergrad and graduate students, so they can get that networking opportunity, educate. And then there's also like the fellowship. So much not healthcare operations, but it's kind of like I'm still getting into financial analysis and strategic planning, communicating with different committees. So I would say all of it kind of gave me like the structure of things that I can use as a healthcare manager administrator role in the future and like project planning. So I think those all can kind of intertwine together through this internship. Yeah. That makes sense.
Thank you. There is a question in the chat. Would the hours of the internship be decided by the hospital you go to? Are they flexible with hours? William, could you address that?
So for my internship, it was your typical 8 to 5 workday, Monday through Friday. So I know it was a paid internship as well for me. I can't necessarily speak towards any other organization or what that looks like because again, I know Sarah's is virtual. So I know that that was definitely would be different from mine, which was in person. So I more beyond Memorial Herman, I can't necessarily speak towards it, but from my own personal experience, it was Monday through Friday, 8 to 5.
Thank you. There is a question. Do you think it is possible to work, go to school, and do an internship?
I can, I'll go ahead first.
Sarah, go ahead.
Um, I do think it's possible. I mean, I didn't do like the work side, but I did have like a full-time I was a full-time student doing my MPH and I was doing the internship. I think I mean, with my internship, it was very flexible hours. So I just had to meet that during the week. So I was able to balance it well with school. But again, it goes down to time management and planning wisely. If you know how your shift is, if you're working full time and your internship is also needs you to work those specific hours, it might be a bit difficult. But sometimes you can speak, like you can split the time, like you can speak with the organizer if you get accepted and see if they can work something out. But I do think it's possible just how you plan everything. And it's like going through it, is it going to be too overwhelming? Should you put one on pause or postpone another or take potentially less classes? So it's like how much you can take on workload.
And piggybacking off of that, it's very important to be transparent between all parties just because again, you never know where some wiggle room is, who can help, who can aid, or whether or not it's not possible for that specific one. I'm sure you'd rather know immediately before committing to it. And now, again, you can't give that 100% that you know you're capable of given to that time constraint. So definitely transparency between whether it's the employer, the internship itself, or school to get that understanding of that what range they can actually go to aid in that. Because of course everyone wants to see you succeed, but at the same time they will be realistic with how much they're willing to not only work with you, but how much of a load they believe that you can carry.
I would agree with all that said, and would also add that yes, it is possible to go to school, work, and do the internship. In fact, in the internship programs, in the description, it says that if one is already working at this particular healthcare organization, internship can be in another department or something, but it cannot be the same job, responsibilities of the job. For example, if one is working on, patient admission or registration, then internship cannot be in that exact department. It can be in another department, for example, in ER or some other department. So yeah, there are students who work and study and do internship at the same time. Okay, so here is a question. What advice do you have for students to stand out in the internship application pool?
I can answer this one, I believe. Because again, I started my internship while I was an undergrad, and I already know it was very competitive. I know I was competing with MHA students, MBA students, and here I was, a bio major at the time who hadn't taken a single business class yet. So for me, the easiest way to stand out is to know who you're talking to. Do the research prior to the interview. If you want to apply, learn about the organization, learn their mission, their vision, their values. If you're able to know who's interviewing you, find out as much as you can about them. Try to be as knowledgeable as you can about the role itself walking into the interview process, and I promise that that will excuse me, I promise you that will set you apart. And then even beyond just that, after the interview, a simple thank you email goes a long way and isn't as common as you think it is. So these little things that go the extra mile will easily set you apart from whether it's competition, peers, however you want to look at it when going through that application process.
Thank you, William. Very good advice.
I have a question. I just wanted to ask both of you, like, what is your why? I think it's very important to remember what drives us when the days get longer and when you get tired and the work gets more challenging. So, why healthcare? Why Memorial Hermann? Why this internship?
I can start by answering that. So for me, my why is ultimately I want to help people be the best versions of themselves that they can be, whether it's the patients that we all plan to serve or the coworkers we work with, or just my friends and family that I interact with on a day-to-day basis. I always knew healthcare was where I belonged, but I was a little ignorant growing up. I only knew of doctors and nurses when it came to healthcare. And I thought, oh, nurses were for girls, so I got to go be a doctor. So I quickly learned that practicing medicine is not for me. I love the results way more than I love the actual practice and process of it. And then I found administration and I just fell in love with it. And it gets to feed into my why of helping people while also being able to achieve my own personal goals. And even beyond just healthcare, having that support system that I'm also able to that I'm also able to be a part of and aid with. And I can definitely attest to that on a personal level, a professional level as well. Just being able to be that difference, leave anything I touch better than I found it.
Excellent. Thank you, William. Sarah, would you add to that?
Yes, I think a lot of us going into healthcare are most wise helping people on getting back to the community. I think that kind of was started off similar to William. I was going pre-med and then I switched to pre-dental and then I went into my MPH for healthcare management. And then I realized even if I'm doing management, I felt I could do a lot more to the community and to my team. I could be more involved and give back to the like, helping people figure out like this, no matter where you are, you can get the care you need when you need it. So I think my why is kind of having like a team that I can work with and lead them to have that kind of message and then convey it to the community and giving that back is kind of what's pushing me to continue down this path.
Very good, Sarah. Thank you. Okay, next question. How do we go about applying for a virtual internship? I'm not sure if there is such a thing as a virtual.
So if you search online, there's like on LinkedIn, there are some virtual internships
Oh,
available. Not every organization gives them. It's like you kind of, when you go through LinkedIn or Handshake or those online tools, you can find something that like suits you. For me, I got to meet Mark at UT Health, and then I emailed him and got in contact, and then I wanted to get involved with the organization, and that's how it kind of started for me. But again, it's different for each person, but there are opportunities out there. I always see them on LinkedIn, but it's just which one suits you and what you kind of want to, what path you want to go on.
Very good example. Thank you, Sarah. That's a good one.
Can I piggyback off that question?
Yes, sure.
So when you got the internship, was it a role that was created or was it already in place in the organization?
So for me, I believe when I got in, I know somebody else did this similar role to me where a lot of our communication through email and then helping with delegating different tasks. And that's kind of where I became like a program intern. But there's also within the ACHE organizations, there's different committees, and you can also get like internships in those. You just like reach out and see what is available, and then depending where you land, which committee that's the tasks you kind of are in charge of. So mine was directly with Marks. I was in charge of like the outer branch logistics and reaching out to different participants and event target marketing.
Maybe let me add to that. Some students find opportunities by themselves. How do you do that? One way to start is through a professional organization such as ACHE. Healthcare administrators, executives are attending those events. So if you begin volunteering, serving on committees, working together, they get to know you. And then someday you might approach someone and say, well, I need professional advice. Talk to them. And then you might identify internship opportunity by yourself. Once you found a healthcare organization or department who is willing to set up an internship for you, then contact your MHA program director, and they will between themselves create this. It's not that difficult. The thing is that many healthcare organizations do not know how, but your MHA program director will help. It's not that difficult. There are just several forms, agreements for a student to come and do internship. Many students apply to ready internship opportunities, those that are posted, and they're like programs where students come, complete, move on, next students come, complete, move on. So those organizations who already understood the benefit of having interns, they keep having interns. So there are several ways how to go about it. But that was a really good question. How do I apply for internship as an undergraduate? I'm very much interested. Well, undergraduate or graduate, their internship opportunities open for you if you are interested. If you're in the undergraduate program of healthcare administration or healthcare management, absolutely, you can take internship in a healthcare organization. So there is no difference. You can start in the undergrad. How can you ensure a full-time job offer? Well, that's what William talked about. How can you ensure a full-time job offer after your internship, especially when most employees in the healthcare industry are highly satisfied with their current company?
I can I can touch on this one because I was in the same boat right after my internship with Memorial Hermann. And like I was saying a little while ago, is setting that realistic expectation that Rome wasn't built in one day. And it's easier said than done, but we have to remember we suffer more in our imagination than we ever do in reality. So knowing that you yourself are not the problem, and that if it doesn't happen immediately, or even within that said organization, the experience that you've garnered from that internship already makes you a valuable candidate for whatever role that is you're trying to get to. And it doesn't necessarily have, just because you've fallen in love with whatever organization you just spent the past couple of months or a year with, doesn't necessarily mean that that's the end all be all. Of course, there are hospitals everywhere, there are healthcare organizations everywhere, and they're always actively hiring. So being able to step outside of our comfort zones, especially as young as we all are, being able to maybe commute, maybe travel, maybe being open to relocate is also an option. We tend to limit ourselves based on where we are. So truly looking at it from more so like a macro level, you really understand how large healthcare really is. Sometimes it feels small, but there are so many opportunities out there that it's only a matter of times. But I feel like applying for work in itself is a full-time job. So understanding that it isn't going to happen quickly and it requires the same amount of dedication as that same internship did, well, it'll only be a matter of time before you're where you want to be.
I just want to add something quick here. You know, before I applied to this internship, I applied to other ones, to land something for credit. And, even with job applications, there's going to be a lot of no's before you get a yes. But take each one as an experience, each interview, each application, each thing. It's like just helping you grow and just improving your CV, your resume, your interview skills. And that just builds on, even if I know it's not the end of the world, you just keep trying. Make yourself a stronger candidate by just staying active in the industry, like, whether you're getting involved with an organization or doing more community services, because there's a lot of volunteer options out there. And just building yourself up in that way before you reapply, it's just don't let one no be like, okay, this is it for me.
I have a
And
quick question. Sorry. So I'm an undergraduate who's considering, I've always been interested in healthcare, and now I've learned about healthcare administration as a potential career option. And I just wanted to ask, what do you think I could be doing with my time? I mean, aside from trying to have like a high impact internship or other experiences to help um like be a stronger candidate, and what kind of activities can I be involved with to develop skills in this sort of field or job area?
I was about to say that too, Mark. Yes, joining a healthcare administration committee, especially with ACHE. It's funny because my first semester at UT Health, I wasn't aware of ACHE. I was like, I didn't know anything about it. And then when I got to it and I got to learn, even if you get student discount FYI, so you can join as a student and you can join these events, each one, from webinars to virtual activities, and you're meeting healthcare executives from all over Houston. That's already kind of putting your foot in the door. And then joining like the events, you get to network and you get to talk to people from Texas Children's, Methodist, Memorial Hermann. You're meeting all of these people in one room and, get their contact on LinkedIn and then see their posts. And that can already kind of get you started and, learning each of the educational webinars we do or events. You're learning a new topic related to healthcare administration, leadership, management. So it's a great organization to be involved in, and I'm very glad I'm in there. So that's what I recommend.
I was
I
gonna,
would echo, William, go ahead, and then I will add.
yes, I was just gonna piggyback off that. I was gonna say the exact same thing. Networking and getting active in these organizations is definitely going to not only set you apart, but really give you the tools necessary to find where within administration you want to endeavor within. And then also another thing you don't necessarily have to look at currently, but it would be nice to start looking at it while you're in undergrad is which MHA program you want to go to. I know a lot of them have really good alumni networks within them and really good opportunities. A lot of them are different. They come in different facets. So as early as you can, looking at where you would like to go to, what that would look like, and just finding these different avenues in which you can network in make your face more familiar to these people already within said organizations.
I would echo Sarah and William. When I was an MHA student in Houston Baptist University, class of 2000, at that time, it was mandatory for students to be members of at least two professional organizations. So I joined ACHE and HFMA, Healthcare Financial Management Association, in 1998, and I'm a member since that time. Started volunteering, just being helpful, of course, used all of the resources provided, and the first job that I got at MD Anderson, that was through actually meeting someone in those volunteering events. But once you become a member, of course, there is internal ACHE job board where you can also look up opportunities. But most importantly, I would say when you begin coming to events, do not begin looking for a job actively. Actually begin, as William said, read the room. Just try to, find your place and be helpful. Find who is organizing volunteers. Whatever hands are needed on some committee work or, anything pretty much. You might just be in the registration table, registering everyone who comes to some events. At the same time, what are the events? Well, they are educational, kind of short, events about the latest and the greatest updates in the industry. So it's also learning opportunity in addition to what you learn in your classrooms about what's really going on, really great discussions, and you will be sitting at those events next to CEOs and executives of different healthcare organizations. Obviously, you will be sitting next to them if you volunteer on committees and working on some projects. So you will actually get to know them. And at some point later, when you really get to know them, you might approach someone and say, I need professional advice. And they will spend some time to you and provide you the advice and how to go about that, and see how that goes. But most everybody I know, our field actually, healthcare administration, is a small world. Everybody knows everybody. How do you get to know everybody? Well, by being active in the professional organizations such as ACHE. ACHE is the biggest one and the most recognized on. Once you become a member, of course, immediately put it on your resume and LinkedIn. Anyone sees that, they will say, oh, okay, so that's an ACHE member. That means a lot. So that's what I have to add. Let's see, we have another question. Have you known anyone who landed a job in healthcare administration without an internship? Well, yes, many people. Not everybody gets to go to the internship. There are also other things such as healthcare administration fellowships. Usually at the end of MHA programs, graduates begin looking for fellowships. Fellowships are a 1-year temporary job that is not a permanent position. Also, there is no guarantee, but also great stepping stone and preparing for leadership roles. Question: I'm in the healthcare administration undergraduate program with the intention to get my MHA. My worst fear is not being able to get a job. Well, the field is growing, and I would echo William, do not lock yourself geographically. If you are in a really nice community where, everybody wants to live and high competition for positions, be open. If you are really looking for entry-level position to maybe relocate or go to some place where there is not so much competition. That way you can enter, get valuable experience, and about a year with that experience under your belt, be more marketable and look at another location where you like. For example, in a recent event, there was a CFO of Houston Methodist, and he said, in my family, it's like, we like a joke we have on furniture, moving stickers. That's how many times we moved. So, this is kitchen, this is bedroom, because moving horizontally to grow in healthcare is really the way. That's how you get to the top faster, which was totally worth it. Now he's a CFO of big Houston Methodist system. Let's go.
And I'll piggyback off of what you said. Beyond just mobility, also be willing to step into something that isn't your first choice, if that makes sense. Where I don't get me wrong, I love my current role. I am currently an ER business coordinator for 2 locations for Memorial Hermann, but by no means that I think I would be working in the ER. So definitely being open to maybe taking a lateral step in a maybe, I guess, a area that isn't necessarily where you envision yourself for the long term, just to get your foot in the door, just to get some experience under your belt. And lo and behold, you might fall in love with it, you might stay. If not, that's okay. But I can guarantee you'll definitely learn some skills that you'll carry on into the role that you want, that you never would have known you needed. So being able and being flexible to step into a role that isn't necessarily plan A, knowing that it's your way in the door and it's your way to get some much needed experience early on in order to prepare you for where it is that you want.
William, I should also say you made excellent point about, don't sit on the position even if you get it, learn about it and be ready. The question is sometimes you ask, how is it better to grow in healthcare administration, horizontally or vertically? Some people say vertically, but that's the wrong answer. So for example, one individual would get a job, get comfortable, learn everything about it, and just sits in the position, just waits, 5 years until higher level position opens up, like director level or something. Another individual gets a job, manager level position, learns everything about the job, now knows everything, how everything to do, feels bored, but does not stay on the job, begins looking, in about a year, begins looking what else opens up, maybe in the same organization, maybe in a similar organization, but in a different department. Not, for example, working right now on medical records, but then something opened up horizontally, also management position, maybe in ER, or maybe in dermatology, or maybe in marketing or revenue cycle, some other area, moves to that position, learns everything, knows how to do everything, kind of already getting bored, do not sleep, still restless, looking what else is opening up, keeps moving from one department to another department, getting many experiences. In 5 years, maybe 5 experiences. Finally, this maybe, director position opens up and 2 candidates apply. The first one who was sitting in one area, and the second one who got experience in many areas. Guess who will get the job? The one with most experience. So not everybody knows but that's one of the secrets, grow horizontally. And sometimes for that, you might want to relocate, but you know what you're doing, be restless. So that was excellent point, William. Okay, question. How about international students? Are there instances where some international students get employed afterwards? International students do get internships and produce wonderful projects, no problem. Again, internship is not a guarantee of employment for any student. So that really depends on the situation and, but do not expect in any domestic student or international student, if you get the internship, that there is any guarantee of employment afterwards. It could be, there are many instances that students stay, but also it's not guaranteed, and so that there is no disappointment. The same goes for administrative fellowships. Do not expect, there is no guarantee, but it could be. So look at it as part of sort of learning experience with actual practical experience that you get on your resume. That is covered area. I've been there, I've done that. So look at that kind of like learning curve. All right. Are there any current fellowships available for the summer of 2025 through ACG Southeast Texas chapter, or is it too late to apply?
Well, that is a great question. Actually have to get with my two current interns to talk about their plans and if we will offer something for the summer, because we usually do. And if you look at Memorial Hermann has a large summer internship program. I think there's around 20 to 24 slots. TCH has restarted theirs for this summer. Houston Methodist also has a summer internship program, so lots of local summer internships available. Some of them have already started applications and have moved on from that, so you really have to pay attention to those cycles, and there really isn't a centralized site for that at the moment.
Thank you, Mark.
But you can always
I
reach out
can
to
real
me.
quick. Gotcha. I can touch on the Memorial Hermann aspect of it just super fast. Like Mark said, there's anywhere between 25 and 30 positions open right now. They just opened up, I believe, today's Friday. I think they just opened up this week. So they should all be available. And there's a wide range of types of internships that there are. There are some that are more corporate in our system. There are some that are hospital operations based in our community hospitals. There are some that go from revenue cycle to construction to marketing to multiple different facets. So I definitely would recommend anyone who's in the Houston area. They are paid internships as well. So that may also help with the employment issue, trying to keep a full-time job at the same time. So I would definitely implore everyone to, or recommend everyone to look at that. And I believe they're all on Memorial Hermann's Workday website where their job postings are. You just type in internship or intern, and they should all populate. So what I did is I applied for every single one. I'm not necessarily saying that you should do that, but at your own discretion, do as you please. But they all just opened up, so their applications would be fresh and would be amongst the first ones. So if I were in your shoes, I would look at that. But that's just me.
Excellent advice. Thank you. Thank you, William. All right. Do we have any more questions? I think we covered everything in the chat. Well, I would like to thank Sarah and William. Thank you so much for your time and sharing your experience. Congratulations with your internships. And you look so talented. You will do really well in our field. And healthcare administration is a great, rewarding field. Well, thank you so much again, everyone, for joining. I hope you have a wonderful weekend, and I hope that this session was informative and interesting. I thought that was a great webinar. Thank you so much, everyone. Have a nice evening.
See you all soon.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.